And hello to all the lovely people. Oh my goodness, how are we all doing today? Today is a super special, exciting day. You know why? Because I'm using my new microphone. How's it sound? Does it sound okay? Yeah, I kind of like it. Sounds silly because I know everybody wears headphones, but I like not having anything on my ears. It's like I'm free now. I'm free to move about the cabin. I can now move my head and feel good. Like I don't have anything that's super like constricting around my ears or pushing my ears down. It just feels good. I know that might sound silly, but whoop, and there goes my water. Ooh, I wonder, you guys can probably hear like all the little sounds you weren't able to hear before. Oh, I better be careful what happens on my phone now. Okay, let's see here. Oh, you know what? I did not think about how it's going to affect. Is it going to affect my ability to see the monitor? I need to like put it out like this. Yeah, there we go. Tilt it down. Does that still look okay? I think it looks pretty good. It's like a really cool radio mic. It's a radio mic. Hello people. Hello to all the people out there listening to me on my radio mic. My nice little it's in front of my face mic. I like it. I like this. Okay. So today's going to be a little different because we've already edited the majority of this, but we need to take it and we need to figure out where to put it. So this entire section right here, Happy Independence Day, my testimony, and these guys helping me basically get my testimony under control, and the military guy coming in, and the jury ending, the jury selection days. I think most of this goes in at the bottom. But we're going to need to make it all look good. Trial confirmation. Okay, Cumbugs is going to go a different place. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut this, all this part out, cut it, and then we're going to go to Chapter 12, Prison or Freedom. And this is going to be the big, whoa, which is it going to be? The mic sounds good, right? Like I'm not just talking and it like doesn't sound. Hang on. Let me listen to myself real quick. It does sound good. All right. I'm into it. It does sound good. All right. I'm into it. I'm into it. Oh, that's awesome. The mic is sounding decent. Okay. So what we have here is a failure to communicate. Come on now. Thank you. Let's give it a paste. Give it a paste. Give it a paste. Paste. Okay. Word count. Check it out. Check out the word count. We're looking at 3,300 words so far. So the majority of the chapters have been seen about 4,000. So that's actually not terrible. Not terrible at all. Okay, let's take another look at the cuts. Gaucho Cumbug story. Now this is a fun one. So we're going to take this story. And if you haven't heard the story, Gaucho, who's an old black man, basically talking about cumbugs flying up people's dicks. And a cumbug, we finally figured, it took us a while to figure out, is a gnat. He's worried about gnats flying up people's dicks and making them infertile. Just a really interesting guy. Okay, let's take a look at the chapters real quick. So the chapters are sitting at... This is what the chapters look like. Cumbugs, we're going to put that in Dangers of Boredom, Chapter 7. We'll get that 4,300 word count up. Becca, it sounds great. Well, thank you so much, Becca. I I'm liking this. I'm liking this mic a lot. I think it's clearer. Maybe it's a little clearer. It's also not right in my face. Like I can move around and you guys can hear the chair squeaking. It also kind of looks cool on the camera. It's like, ooh, there's a microphone there. There's a microphone there. All right. Dangers of Boredom, Chapter 7. Let's go there. Yeah, let's open up a new one. Bum, 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 bum. Google Docs. Welcome to the Google Docs. We have ourselves a beautiful setup. Google Docs. Okay. Chapter 7, Dangers of Boredom. And I know that this isn't the most exciting part about writing that we're doing today, but it'll get a little more exciting once I actually figure out where to throw everything in. So, the talk of the cards and the God nuggets of wisdom. At the second day of card distribution. Okay, let's bring it down to. But after a while, I realized how expensive drugs were and how lazy I felt sleeping the day away. For a moment, there was only the sound of his sobs, before applause and shouts filled the pod. Wow, wow. Okay. Next day, the crazy codependent couple was back together. But maybe I could pit a black guy against a Mexican from Cuba. Using this information, I came up with a story that Jenna broke up with him. In my cell, once more, boredom began to creep. What I needed was a good fight. Okay, here we go. This is where we're going to insert the Gaucho Cumbug story. Paste. There we have it. Okay. Here we go. Take those out. Create a new paragraph right there. I have no idea what a cumbug is. Pretty sure it's a gnat. But it was a great source of entertainment one boring jail day. Gaucho came out of his cell flailing arms. But I thought maybe I could start one with the right emotional unstable subject. We're going to take that sentence out right there. Gaucho came out of his cell with his arms flailing. One of the times he forgot he was supposed to have a bad shoulder. This was one of the times he forgot he was supposed to have a bad shoulder. With great gusto, he yelled for the pod to hear. I was immediately at my cell door. What did he say? Talking about cumbugs. Okay. So with that added story, the word count is now at 4696. That's more like it. All right, let's update our word count for chapter 7. 4696. Beautifully done. Da, 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 4696. Okay. So, chapter 7 is good. Okay, next, being gay and Max. Being homosexual and Max just Just don't do it. I know being gay isn't a choice. You can't help it. Blah, blah, blah. That's fine. Just don't act super gay and definitely don't hit on anyone. Gay boy was fine for the first 2 months he was there. I don't know. Racism. Blubber. Now there's a good story I need to make sure to throw in. Okay. So, we need dealing with disappointment. Okay, let's throw in the story of Blubber. Da, 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 da. Story of Blubber. And that is going to go in. Yeah, definitely need some more dealing with disappointment. So let's do that. 4169, chapter 10. So we'll go to chapter 10 now. And I know that this isn't how a lot of authors do it when it comes to actually like throwing, basically taking snippets of story and putting them into the chapter, but it's worked well for me. So let's give it a go, shall we? So chapter 10. Where are you, chapter 10? There we go. Chapter 10, dealing with disappointment. Dealing with disappointment. Okay. Temperature checks were done twice a day. Bum bum. Okay. With deputies. Okay. Yes, unable to trust MHP. Create a process. Something new to talk about family and friends. Okay. We'll start a new scene right here. Okay. And throw in the story of Blubber right there. Okay. We need a little intro thing. Yeah, 6'2", 300 pounds, wearing it. This new guy was a sight to behold. Crazy, unkept hair, beard, and eyes to match. He smelled like old cheese. Needless to say, his celly lasted half a day. COVID started to affect the facility in several ways, one of which was overcrowding. Soon we got all kinds of new inmates. that we wouldn't normally have seen, in our pod. COVID started to affect the facility in several ways. COVID started to affect the facility in several negative ways. In a series of negative ways. COVID started to affect the facility in a series of negative waves, one of which was overcrowding. Soon we got all kinds of new inmates that we wouldn't normally have seen in our pod. Yep, I like it. We're going to keep it. We're going to call that good right there. Call it good. Keep it there. Move on. 6'2", 300 pounds, wearing a 8X top, 6X bottoms. Okay. Let's find another cut note to throw in. Oh, did we just copy this? We didn't cut it? Let's cut it. Cut it. All right, tattoo. Let's go with the tattoo story now. And the tattoo story cut, and this one we're going to put in, oh, let's get the word count for chapter 10. Chapter 10, word count, 4568. Excuse me, 4568. Okay. Dealing with disappointment is now 4568. Okay. Staying sane, making friends, corrections, bad silly. Dangers of boredom. Number 7. That's the one. 4696. Okay. Yes. Dangers of boredom is where the tattoo story goes. So let's get out of chapter 10. Go into chapter 6. Make something special here. My squirrel, don't lie to me. Where did you hide that nut? My squirrel, don't lie to me. Where did you sleep last night? My girl, don't lie to me. Where did you sleep last night? Where did you sleep last night? Dun dun dun. Okay, here we go. Here's how expensive drugs were. Cuba. I think tattoos should probably go at the bottom because they are like, whoa, crazy. Dun 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 dun. I tore a corner of the bedsheet, slowly pouring the bag through the sheet into another bag. Okay. Hang on. What is the arts and crafts? Okay. We need to add getting jail tattoo story. Here we go. Okay, there we go. Wrap 2 inches in the needle and thread. Okay, here we have it. Without a book to read and no more toes to count, the never-ending fluorescent lights started to get to me, but not as bad as they used to. Clearly, I'd become maximum hard. That got me thinking about what I could do to let people know how hard I was after I tasted sweet freedom again. Clearly, I need to get an epic jail tattoo. First thing I needed was a needle. Making one was easy enough. But it took a lot of work. First, I took a paper clip out of some legal paperwork. I could also get paper clips from paper pads bought off commissary or from address books requested through the chaplain. Getting the paper clip sharp took hours of scraping against the metal. Sharp took hours of scraping against the metal edge under the desk and the concrete floor. The hours I spent sharpening the metal were hours I had something to do, so I didn't complain. Making the ink was a bit more complicated. What you would typically do is twist toilet paper around homemade, or rather jail-made candle. You could light the wick, the toilet paper, by blowing a fuse or a battery. After the candle was lit, you'd put a paper bag over the candle to collect the soot. Just a few dabs of water to the soot, and you'd have yourself decent jailhouse tattoo ink. Unfortunately, my facility was in the Stone Age, with no batteries or fuses available. We had no way to make fire. We had no way of discovering fire. Others recommended using ink out of the pen, crushing up a colored pencil to a fine point, or even using pencil lead. The problem with every one of these methods is after a couple years, the ink fades from the skin. But that wasn't going to deter me. What did deter me was the pain of sticking and poking with only a semi-sharp needle. With no way to make a proper tattoo gun, I was left in the incapable hands of a man slowly lifting up the needle and bringing it down manually. It wasn't that I couldn't handle the pain, it's that a dull needle slowly being pushed too far, not far enough, into your skin really hurt. Sounded excruciating. Excruciating. So it would take several more months and a celly who knew what he was doing before I tried to get a gel tat. Before you can make a tattoo gun, you need to make the needle. Take a staple out of your paperwork, a legal pad. Oh, hang on, I already talked about that. Took days, but they were days spent doing something, so I didn't mind. Making the ink was a bit complicated. There we go. Attach the needle to the bottom of the pencil by wrapping it tight with a sticker. Best Max can make. The ink starts with pencil lead. To get enough, I suggest finding a pencil you can see the seam of between the two wood halves that keep the graphite center in place. Soak the pencil in water for a day or two. Using the edge of the table, peel and split away the outer layers of pencil until you're left with just the black pencil lead. Using a sharp edge of a table or chair, flake a little bits of graphite. But put the flakes in a shampoo cap. Add 1 or 2 drops of shampoo to turn the flakes liquid. Test your ink. Now you're ready to stick and poke yourself a jailhouse tattoo. When doing the actual tattooing, I suggest dipping the needle after every poke. You kind of want to poke at an angle so the ink gets under the skin. Poke and rip, as they say. Go over it several times to get a decent looking gel tat that won't fade too quickly. Yeah, it hurt a lot. Remember, an authentic gel doubles your street cred. Okay. Using a sharp edge of the table. I think it looks pretty good. I think that is a good looking story right there. Good looking story right there. Bum bum ba da 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 dun dun dun. And done. Okay, jail tattoo looks good. Now you're ready to stick and poke yourself a jailhouse tattoo. When doing the actual tattooing, I suggest dipping the needle after every poke. Reading a book out loud to the man scarring up my arm help keep my mind off the pain. Every so often, he'd poke a little hard or tear a little aggressively, and my reading voice would rise an octave. But all in all, it turned out looking pretty good. Pretty good. On the upper part of my right shoulder now lies hang on. Lay okay. Right shoulder now lies a speckled pair of handcuffs in the D&D symbol. But all in all, it turned out looking pretty good. On the upper part of my right shoulder now lies a speckled pair of handcuffs in the D&D symbol. In a jail tat gave me, if nothing else, a good story and something to show off to my family. How many people can say they got a stick and poke tattoo from a paper clip? Stick and poke tattoo with a paper clip in jail. In close custody. Okay, now let's take a look at our word count. Whoa, our word count is way up, guys. Way to go. Go us. Go team. Go team. Go team, go. Go team, go. All right, now we need to do this right here, the alcohol story. Boredom had me traveling 1,000,000 miles an hour in my head. I just wished I could get drunk. I just wished I could get drunk and relax like I did on the outside. Just take a load off. Not loud. Load. Just take a load off. Load off. And tie one on. Over the many months of incarceration, several things changed. One of them was adding popcorn, was adding big bags. Several things changed. One of them was adding big bags of popcorn to the commissary list. This was a nice change for a little while. Something salty. Something salty. Something salty was definitely a nice change of pace. It wasn't until definitely a nice change of pace. Dun, dun, dun. You guys are about to find out what the popcorn bags were really used for in jail. It wasn't until I'd feasted on half a dozen. It wasn't until I'd feasted on a dozen popcorn bags that it started to get old. We started piling the popcorn bags on top of each other. They were a little big for passing food well. Most people still preferred their food be stored and passed in the chip bags. They were smaller and fit under the door easier. Then, one night, while staring up at the ceiling in my bunk, I finally realized what these popcorn bags might be good for. With bags these size, with bags this big, we might be able to make some hooch. Some jailhouse wine. Some hooch. This was such a gross thing to do. By the way, it was disgusting. Okay. To make hooch, we had to get my Sally and I had to get to make hooch, my Sally and I had to get with the kosher folks and start trading things for all the sugar we could get. When we'd saved up about 60 packs of sugar, 30 for each bag, we started collecting apples. Now, getting the apples was a little harder. Everyone got an apple for breakfast. And kosher people got 3 apples a day, one with every meal. However, apples go bad, take up more space to store, and can be seen through the window of the cell. To that end, we set up all apple trades for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We set up all apple trades to take place on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Apples were also harder to trade. Apples were also harder to trade because you couldn't fit them under the cell doors. To get us apples, a lot of people had to smush them down by stepping on them when they were in a bag, meaning the apple wasn't going to keep super long. To deal with this, we set up all apple trades to take place on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The house mouses got double trays on the weekends, meaning they had more apples to give us. As we traded for everyone's apples, we kept it quiet. We kept the reason we were trading for so many quiet. We didn't need anyone blabbing, or for the guards or for the COs to possibly catch wind. You never know when someone is going to get on the tablet and rat you out to the COs for something you're doing wrong. It's an easy way to get back at someone. Or ruin someone's day just because you're bored. By the end of the weekend, we had all the apples and sugar we needed. Sunday night, when everyone was asleep, Stu, late Sunday night, when everyone was sound asleep, we waited. We always worked right after the deputies. Nope, deputies. Yep, plural. We always worked right after the deputies did their walkthrough. Giving us an hour of work without too much worry that the COs would look in and catch us. However, we were always quiet. We were always fairly quiet, listening for the pod door to open. More than once, we had to scurry. We had to scurry and quickly hide all our work. First thing we did to make hooch was squash up all the apple pieces as best we could. Stomp on them, squish them, and get them in the popcorn bags. As juicy and smushed as possible. Next, we filled the bags up about halfway with water. About a third of the way with water. We needed to be sure and leave enough room that we could seal the bags. We could seal the bags and let them expand through the fermentation process. Through the fermentation process. Ba, 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 da, 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 da. We poured in once we had all the bags filled with about 17 apples each, we put all the sugar in and mixed up the bags. Last thing we did trying to remember everything that we did now is hard. Good golly. Last thing we did was put a single piece of bread, a single slice of bread on the top of each, on the top, put a single slice of bread in each bag to help jumpstart the hooch making. Once all the bags were good and working, once all the bags were mixed properly, we sealed them up placing tape all along, placing stickers all along the top of the bags, making sure there was no air inside the bags and none could get in. It was easy to know if the fermentation process was working. You started seeing bubbles forming in the concoction. And the bag and the airtight bags filled up to the brim with air, like they were going to pop. We knew we had to do what we could to keep the bags warm for the hooch to really work. So we hid our old clothes on laundry day, not turning in our old uniforms. We then used the uniforms and a few extra towels we'd asked for and covered the bags up, insulating them against the cool. Insulating them. We also sealed up the vent so our cell didn't get as good an airflow and warmed right up. To hide our alcoholic That water's really good. Let me tell you. Really good water. To hide our our underground alcohol creation. Let me know if I need to turn the mic up or if this is a good volume. If I need to turn the mic up, I'm happy to do that. To hide our underground alcohol creation, we put the bags in the corner to the right of our sink. So the sink and the toilet blocked the view of the bags. We then placed a few white towels on top of the orange uniforms, the orange of the uniforms. And put our trash bag in front so that if someone looked in, it would look like a trash bag and maybe a pile of laundry we had to do. And t-shirts on top of the orange uniforms, so that if someone looked in, it would look like a trash bag and maybe a pile of laundry. All right, I'm liking it. It's looking good, guys. It's looking real good right now. We started this process right after we were searched. So we weren't afraid being found out. But just in case a CEO might want to peek his head all the way into our cell during our timeout, one of us, my cellier or I, would go and close the door when the CEOs did their walkthrough during our timeout. We stayed in the cell with the door closed at the desk, making it look like we were writing a letter. Nothing out of the ordinary, and no reason to suspect a thing. This, of course, discouraged CEOs from popping the door, or walking all the way into our cell. Making the alcohol was a lot of work, but I didn't mind. It was something different, something to do. Collecting the items, contraband, and hiding it all was great fun. It was a cool secret. And gave us something to do all day. The unfun part was burping the bags. When the bags were all bloated up with the air, we'd have to open up the seal and let the air out. And that air stunk. The smell was rancid. like sweet decayed fruit, and it had nowhere to go in our cell. So the COs wouldn't smell it. We only burped the bags right after their walkthrough. And then we'd put deodorant and toothpaste around the edges of the door. Around the edges of the door and vent. Fresh toothpaste, the minty fresh toothpaste smell did a lot to help us stand the smell ourselves. The minty fresh toothpaste smell did a lot. Every so often, we'd add more sugar packs as we got them, making sure there was plenty of sugar. Every so often, we'd add more sugar packs so we got them as we got them. And continually mix up the packs, mix up the bags, ensuring we had a strong food source for the fermentation. After about 6 days, we noticed the bubbles starting to stop rising, signaling to us that the fermenting was done. And we'd better enjoy what we had as fast as we could. We didn't want our hooch to lose its potency by having it sit around too long. Taking the concoction out of the bags, and turning them into real usable drink was a process. All that night, the entire pod was quiet, and we got to work. Smelly, stinky, make you want to never eat apples again work. I tore a corner of the bed sheet, slowly pouring the bags through the sheet into another bag. We were able to strain out all the leftover mush. Straining it involved a lot of squishing and twisting the sheet, leaving my hands sticky and smelling of sweet apple decay. Sweet decayed apples. Disposing of the mush ended up being way harder than expected. Just a few apple peels clogged the toilet. Not wanting to risk asking a deputy for the plunger and having them sniff the pungent odor, I sat on the toilet, covering the opening with my legs, bouncing up and down. I became a human plunger. Flushing and plunging for over an hour, my cellie and I were finally left with just the foul liquid. We distributed cups into small chip bags to give inmates who donated apples or sugar to the cause. They were happy to try something new, something different from what they'd enjoyed. Something different. Different. Even if it did taste even if it wasn't a culinary delight. In the end, we were left with 2 bags, about 15 cups each to get drunk off of ourselves. Every ounce tasted awful. The liquid was disgustingly sweet with a terrible alcohol bite for an aftertaste. I did my best to mask the flavor by adding over 30 punch juice packs. It kind of worked. But the important thing is, the wine worked. We got fucked up. I craved and ate a ton of bread, gave my silly crap life advice, and laughed a lot. The hardest part about being drunk was getting on and off the bunk. Holding on the side of the bunk for support while my left foot searched for the stool proved to be quite difficult and time-consuming. I also enjoyed a lot of honey buns and Swiss rolls in my drunken eating frenzy. Towards the end, I slipped while I also enjoyed commissary plus alcohol. Commissary plus alcohol. Made for quite the night. Towards the end, I slipped while trying to get off my bunk and landed hard, chipping a tooth. All in all, a great fun night in jail. Commissary plus alcohol made for a happy belly. Towards the end, I slipped while trying to get off my bunk and landed hard, chipping a tooth. All in all, a great fun night in jail. It was hard not to giggle like little schoolgirls doing something wrong in a slumber party whenever the COs walked by for their hourly checks. When sleep finally came my way, it was the most relaxed and full sleep I got in Max. Finally sleeping in metal. I use finally again. I can't use finally again. When sleep came my way, it was the most relaxed and full sleep I'd gotten in Max. Finally sleeping on metal with 4 inches of padding didn't bother me. The wine came back with a vengeance in the morning. I didn't throw up, but that didn't stop my stomach from asking me to. Stomach flipping and head pounding, I thanked God for Tylenol. And then Trevor told me he loved me before falling off the bunk and busting his tooth. No way. Swear to God. Then he went on about how great it was to date a girl who cuts hair. Saves a fortune, he said. I told him he should try dating a homeless chick. It's great. When you're done with the date, you can drop her off anywhere you want. I laid back enjoying hearing about my drunk exploits. Max had its terrible, boring, and tear-inducing. Close custody has terribly boring and tear-inducing mundane moments, but there were things to do, stories to make, and people to help the time go by quicker. Not all of a person's time in Max's has to be awful. A man just had to learn to entertain himself. Tools. Word count. 6,337. 6,337. Way to go, us. Guys, this is freaking amazing. Good job, team. We're getting like really good word counts on this thing. Really good word counts. Okay, back to good job on the dangers of boredom. Now let's take a look at our cuts. What's our next cut story? Books. I don't know if we should do books. Daily schedule. Maybe I'll do that. Okay, let's see. Where else do we need stories? Arts and crafts. Dangers of boredom. Corrections staff, be your own chef. Jury observation. Okay, so jury observation clearly needs to go. And instructions to the jury. Yep, all of that. All of that can get cut, and we're going to put that in our final chapter, chapter 12. Okay, good. Now, save that. Go to notes. Go to cuts. Go to notes and cuts. Notes and cuts and cuts and notes and notes and cuts and cuts and notes. Notes and cuts and cuts and notes and cuts and cuts and notes. Okay. I don't know. War for the Remote is interesting, but I don't know if it's like that interesting. Board sell extra. Maybe that could fit in arts and crafts. Maybe. Maybe we should save these stories and then find different places to put the rest of them. Because I think I do a good job of stating what our time looked like. But, by the way, if you're gonna call yourself a crip, call your people cuz, not nigga. Also, you should probably be black. If you claim to be a Hell's Angel, don't tell people you drive a Jap bike. For real. Oh my gosh, that one was a bad one. Okay, so I think I'm gonna take a quick break to use the restroom, and then I need to get a little organized. I think what we're gonna do next is we're actually gonna take a look at the actual jail documents, and we're gonna go through and we're gonna edit some things. And as we're editing, we're gonna put the jail documents where they should go, what chapters they belong to, and where we think that they would just look best. Like what pages we should put per page within the documents themselves. So, taking a quick break, I'll be right back. Hello, hello, hello. Oh, man. Do you ever go and do something and then you realize, wow, there's a lot more to do than I was ready for? Like, um, I just went outside and there was a box and I delivered the box to the person you need to go to. And then it was hey, can you grab this real quick? Well, sure. And then, hey, and somebody else was, hey, we could really use a copy of this paperwork that so and so gave you. And it was just, oh, it took way longer. That break should not have gone that long. I apologize, everybody. Hmm. Do 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 do. Rocking the treetop all day long, rocking and beating and singing my song. All the little birdies are here on me. Rugged tweet, 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 Rocket Robin, tweet, tweet, tweet. Oh yeah, Rocket Robin, tweet, tweedly dee. Oh, Rocket Robin, 'cause we're really gonna rock tonight. Excuse me. Okay, let's take this, take it all out. Mm. Using few words and not adding additional explanation was counterintuitive to my nature. All this prep with someone close who I could trust was invaluable, but nothing could have fully prepared me for the harsh realities of standing trial. Cut. Taking that part out. Do do do. Ba-da-da. Three and a lot of courthouse stuff. Okay, we'll put the next part right here. Okay. That I wish I could vomit. throw this right here, paste it. Yeah. Oh, we're gonna have to do so much editing, guys. It's not even funny. So much editing to do, so little time to do it all in. Okay. This part, Happy Independence Day. That goes right there. Okay. So now, okay. Trial start. Let's cut that. Cut that all out. Yes. Start a new one right there. Okay. Let's just get the order of everything. There it goes. There it goes. Okay. Okay. We need to put instructions to the jury before or after jury observation. Let's see. Let's just turn these into one thought. Yeah, that's good. Okay. Take out the notes here. Okay, tools, word count. What's our word count looking at? 3,675. Okay. We have the good start to a good section. Good section of people. Good section of stuff. Okay, let's get back to work. And we're just going to go all the way from the beginning. Let's just go through the entire chapter. We're going to write this chapter like it's brand spanking new. Basically, we're making a brand new chapter here. You'll get popped in the face once or twice to loosen you up. Make you more cooperative. Leprechaun said as he explained how several prison inmates might fall in love with a good-looking new inmate. Or you'll get one good knockout hit in the back of the head when you aren't expecting it. Wake up with some guy's member up your ass. You'll get an erection, but don't worry. It's just a natural physical reaction to something moving in and out of your sphincter. It doesn't mean you're gay. Did I spell sphincter right? Sphincter. Yep, definitely spelled that wrong. Why isn't it catching that? I feel like that should be something it catches. Sphincter. Everyone laughed and then told a few stories to confirm that yes, it is a natural physical reaction. I knew they were all joking. Rape in prison didn't really happen now that there were so many open homosexuals with condoms ready to go. If rape did take place, it was about the power and control high. It was about sending a message. We only had a few rape claims in county. One was against a tranny, and we were all pretty sure it happened. The second rape allegation that they took seriously was a guy who claimed his cellie took his ass. They searched and found semen. However, the allegation only came after he was caught stealing his commissary. Due to size and the fact everyone assumed the cellies enjoyed each other, called them fags without much argument, and witnessed them pounding away in their cell one day, we were pretty sure everything was consensual. In this day and age, he should have gotten a signed romantic contract. Although, under PREA laws, no inmates may have sexual relations, consensual or otherwise, with another inmate. Under PREA laws, no inmate may have sexual relations, consensual or otherwise, with another inmate. Not something I'd ever had to worry about. Porn in my hand was more than enough for me. The topic of what prison was like had been coming up a lot lately because everyone was taking deals. Jackson Selly, Gay J, Fat Ass, B, Killer, Andy, Pig, pig, panda, leprechaun, even gaucho would all end up taking deals. You can't blame them for deals, though. Even gaucho all ended up taking deals. You can't blame them for taking deals, though. The way the American justice system is set up, depending on how difficult your case will be to prosecute, you'll be offered a deal to plead guilty. This saves the prosecutor's office and the courts money and guarantees a guilty verdict. In their mind, a deal was a guarantee that justice would be served. Why trust that a jury of normal everyday citizens are smart enough to make the right verdict when the prosecutor could trade a few years of prison time for a certain happy ending? As a man trying to prove his for a happy ending that was certain. As a man trying to prove his innocence, a deal can be quite tempting, regardless of guilt. As a man trying to prove his innocence, a deal can be quite tempting, regardless of guilt. Even with go do another comma right there, just for the heck of it. Kind of make that word stand out, you know? You know? You know, you know, you know? You know, you know, you know? You know? Yeah, you know. You know it. As a man trying to prove his innocence, a deal can be quite tempting, regardless of guilt, even with a solid defense. There's no guarantee that the jury won't go off script and do their own thing. There's no telling what might happen when those doors close and the jury deliberation starts. Most of the guys in Max are looking at 15 to 30 years if found guilty. Several are facing life. You take a guy facing 15, then offer him 3.5 if he pleads out. That's tempting for anyone, especially when you consider that if their plea agreement lowers the crime enough, plea agreement that's tempting for anyone, especially when you consider that if the plea agreement lowers the crime enough, he'll receive a third off for good behavior. Even if you think you might have an 80 or 90% chance of being found not guilty, is it worth gambling with such a large chunk of your life on the line? That's the question everyone in Max faced. Clearly, most took the deal. In my 1.5 years in Max, the only person to take their case to the box was LeBron. In my 1.5 years in Max, only a handful ever took their cases to the box. One only 2 detainees in my 1.5 years in Max, only 2 detainees ever took their case. Only 2 detainees in my pod took their cases to the box before me. One was LeBron. He was offered a deal for 5 years. He is now serving 15. We all thought he had a good chance of winning. The other reason most of the Max Pod was taking deals was because of COVID. The other reason most of Max was taking deals was because of COVID. Due to the inability to have trials safely, most everyone in Max had already been awaiting trial for over a year. Even once the courts opened back up in March of 2021, we were told they'd only be able to hold one county Supreme Court case at a time, meaning most guys would have to wait another 6 months to have a year for trial. You tell someone they have to wait another 6 months in close custody for trial, or they can take a deal and just go home after 6 months. Most guys take the deal. And plus, they would get to do their time in prison after taking the deal. No more being stuck in a cell for 22 hours a day. In prison, you get a TV in your cell, a radio, a tablet to play games on. You can get a job, a hobby, take carpentry. You can play ping pong, basketball, kickball. You can wear a real pair of shoes and aren't stuck in the same orange uniform all day. You can walk around outside, feel the grass, and bask in the sun shining on your face. After 18 months in close custody, prison sounded pretty amazing. Cooped up so long in close custody. Cooped up so long in closed custody. Some guys were taking deals to stay sane. When you consider everything alongside the instant relief a man feels in knowing the foreseeable future of his life, you can't blame guys for making the choices they did. Same choice I had to make. I was offered a deal in November of 2020, after being detained since December of 2019, that if I accepted, would have sent me home to freedom within a week or two. Only problem I had with the deal was I was innocent. How could I plead guilty? Be labeled a felon for the rest of my life? Losing my rights to vote, hold a gun, having to be on community custody, and check in with the sheriff's office? How could I explain to my friends, the business community, my family, that I didn't do it even though I pled guilty? How could I look my daughter in the eyes? At the same time, my entire life was on the line. I was gambling with close to 15 years of my life. I was gambling with close to 15 years. My inability to play with my daughter, go to work, raise a family. I thought I had a good defense, but a lot was at stake. I thought I had an airtight defense, but a lot was at stake. What pushed me to decide to fight was the injustice I felt. I wanted to fight the system. I felt it was prosecuting me unfairly. In my opinion, my county's prosecutor's office and the majority of the judges have a better safe than sorry mentality. They'd rather try someone who may have committed the crime than have a possibly dangerous individual walking the streets. This, of course, is not in line with our nation's long-standing motto, innocent until proven guilty. I thought the prosecutors and judges themselves should have to think the evidence shows a significant likelihood that the accused is guilty before bringing charges forward. The charges should certainly be dropped before trial begins if there is a likelihood that the individual is innocent. Charges should not be dependent solely on how likely the prosecutor's office is to get a plea deal or a conviction. Alas, that isn't how our system facilitates justice in practice. There is no consideration on the part of the prosecutor on whether or not the person might be innocent. In practice, they prosecute everyone. In practice, they prosecute everyone they believe. They prosecute everyone they believe they might be able to convict. With plenty of funding, most people taking deals, and thanks to COVID, a near limitless time someone can await trial, there's no reason for them not to prosecute everyone. There are also little to no consequences for a prosecutor who loses. If they lose, they shrug it off. If they lose, they shrug it off. Telling themselves the only reason the defendant won was because they lied, and then they move on to prosecute the next alleged perpetrator. Understand, I'm not saying most defendants should be free. In fact, the majority of people incarcerated are guilty of sin. However, there are those like myself who in my mind should have never been prosecuted, who do not have enough evidence against them to charge them with a crime, and because they choose to fight for their freedom, they are punished with longer time in jail, additional charges, and bigger consequences if found guilty. But I was ready to show the community that I wouldn't take this lying down. I wanted to humiliate and make the prosecutor look like the fool she was. And I wanted to make the system rethink the next time they were on the fence about prosecuting a case like mine. I wanted press releases and interviews about my victory. I wanted a trial. One way or another, I was going to finally get out of close custody. My lawyer had told me when I was first arrested, my lawyer told me 6 months went to trial. When I was first arrested, my lawyer told me it'd likely be 6 months before I saw trial. I was prepared for trial and felt ready to go at the 6-month mark. Thanks to COVID, our state and local governments suspending all jury trials, pushing my date to I need to look up these dates. Okay, so I'm going to have to create a timeline. That's going to be my next project. Create timeline of court dates. and constant pushback. Okay, so now that's on my to-do list. Every time trial was pushed back was another round on the emotional roller coaster. As trial approached, a wave of excitement and nervous stress would crash down on me. A defendant looks forward to his legal troubles being concluded. But the possible life-ruining consequences is enough to drive anyone crazy. The week before trial confirmation is full of second guesses, sleepless, worry-filled nights, and a lot of prayer. Every time my court date was moved, a mixture of confirmed relief or not having to face the stressful horrors of trial met the anger of being met in close custody with the uncertainty of my future hanging over my head. Trial finally being confirmed for May 17th was a blessing and a curse. Nothing could have prepared me for the stresses of trial. Nothing. That date is wrong. That date is wrong. Before I keep doing this, I'm going to need to actually go through and put together a timeline on when the actual dates were. And I want to get these dates right. Yeah. But good job editing, guys. Hope you found it interesting. I'm going to end the live stream here. I will stream again tomorrow. So see you all then. Oh, and I'll also have one in the afternoon tomorrow, too, around 7.